Look, you guys have got to stop this fighting. Everyone can have opinions. Let it go. And you, stop instigating. Well, some people have stupid opinions. Yeah, and you look like you play Mario Sunshine. Okay. That's enough of an insult itself. Ah! See, this is what I mean. You need to stop being an ass. Me? Have you been wearing the same clothes for 2 years?
Well, you did for a while too.
Yeah. I did. Why did I change? Sorry, I have a party to go to. Freaking weirdo. Sorry, I'm late.
You're a month and a half late.
I was at an AA meeting. Well, happy birthday, buddy. My favorite game, Super Mario Galaxy, turned 15 years old this month. So, to celebrate, I thought, why not do a retrospective? Super Mario Galaxy, in my mind, is without a doubt the greatest Mario game that Nintendo has ever squeezed out. Now, does it control the best? No. Is it the best looking? No. Is it the most innovative? Well, that one's up for debate. But all arguments aside, I truly believe that this is the best Mario game out there. And why, you might ask? Well, where do I start? The beginning of the game has one of the best opening sequences in the entire Mario franchise. What? Did you think that we'd start at the end? Fucking idiot. The game starts with a letter from Peach, a kind of homage to Mario 64. Then you get to pass by all the Toads and see them having a good time, and you get familiar with the pointer by collecting star bits, as it is the Star Festival. And then, in a complete change of pace, Bowser attacks and starts destroying the entire area around the castle, until eventually he just takes the entire castle into space. Mario's still on the castle and somehow breathing, so Kamek blasts him into space and disappears to the center of the universe. And what happens next is an even bigger change of pace. When Mario wakes up on a strange planet, the camera zooms out while a soft jingle plays. Almost as if to say, you're all alone, in a dark vacuum, with a weird bunny star thing. Then you go and meet Rosalina, who grants you the ability to spin and tasks you with collecting all of the power stars that Bowser stole. Now, Rosalina may have the best backstory in Mario, and while that isn't saying much, it's something. Most of her lore comes from Rosalina's storybook, which you can unlock as the game progresses, and it can also be read in the library of the Comet Observatory. The Comet Observatory serves as the hub world in Mario Galaxy, and while it's not as big as Peach's Castle or Isle Delfino, in my opinion, it's the most beautiful of the Mario hub worlds. And instead of worlds like in past Mario games, you have a total of 7 domes around the Comet Observatory. The terrace, fountain, kitchen, bedroom, the engine room, the garden, and the gate. You travel through each of these domes throughout the game, each with their own unique galaxies. In Mario Galaxy, the levels are referred to as galaxies. Really?
Each galaxy has as few as 1 star in levels like Flip Switch, or as many as 7 in galaxies like Dusty Dune and Battle Rock. While most of these stars are memorable and fun, some of them just kinda suck. Some stars feel just kind of thrown into the game, unlike Mario Odyssey, where pretty much 90% of the moons are creative and fit well within their respective kingdoms.
Are you cheating on me? What? No, I was just giving an example. Burn in hell! Ah!
And I'm not saying I don't like those stars, but I feel like the developers had some really cool ideas but had no galaxies that they could pair them well with, like the Watermelon Planet, and Deep Dark Galaxy, the Ghost-themed level. But the levels aren't the only things that make Mario Galaxy my favorite game. The nostalgia factor alone is worth replaying the game over and over again. Super Mario Galaxy is the literal embodiment of nostalgia. I've seen so many people who say that they feel all kinds of nostalgia towards Galaxy, and everyone seems to have a different reason. The memories they made while playing it, the levels, but for me it has to be the music.
If the Luma theme ain't playing at my funeral, then I'm not going!
We'll go back to the music in a bit. For now, let's talk about Mario Galaxy's sequel. Super Mario Galaxy 2 came out 3 years after the original in May 2010. With just as much, if not more content, and a great soundtrack just like Super Mario Galaxy 1. It was originally called Super Mario Galaxy 1.5, and it was going to be DLC for the first game. But the developers had so many ideas, and they had already created so much more content, that they decided to release a full-on sequel for full price. And this became the critically acclaimed sequel to one of the best-selling Wii games. One of the main things that Galaxy 2 has over Galaxy 1 is that Galaxy 2 has way more replayability, with the additional challenge of collecting all 120 green stars and the infamous final level, the perfect run. But for some reason, I've never really enjoyed Galaxy 2 as much. I don't know if it's because I got the game a decent while after the first, or because of how long it took me to 100% it.
I literally beat it like 4 months ago and I got it in 2013, don't ask.
I don't think I've ever fully understood why I prefer Mario Galaxy 1 over Galaxy 2, but now I think I do. Both games have amazing and memorable levels, but I think it all comes down to the music and how it fits in the atmosphere of the games.
See what I did there? Oh hey, it's you! Did you like my joke? Mom said you're adopted.
The music in Galaxy 2 is more epic and grand, like Mario's on a mission, and he's gonna complete that mission, damn it. But the music in Galaxy 1 captures the feeling of exploring space. Tracks like Space Fantasy, Space Junk, and Gateway Galaxy capture the emptiness of space. The melodic and calming piano in Space Junk especially, as it's one of the standout pieces of music from the game. And these tracks are contrasted with music from levels such as Beach Bowl, Honey Hive, and Buoy Base, which gives their respective levels an upbeat or lighthearted feel. With the exception of Buoy Base, because that shit slaps. Now, people may hate on Mario Galaxy for it being linear and for the decreased amount of health, but I say to hell with them. With the game being centered around more traditional get-to-the-goal levels, the developers had to do everything they could to make the levels as interesting and give as much depth to them as they could with what they were able to work with. And their hard work shows in levels like Good Egg, Battle Rock, Space Junk, Dusty Garden, and the final level, just to name a few. The levels and music are really the standout pieces of the game, as they should be in any game. But one very important piece of this game that I think goes unmentioned too often is the story. Super Mario Galaxy is one of the rare exceptions in the Mario franchise. The game actually has some sort of lore that's unique to the game, and technically it's loosely related to Super Mario Galaxy 2, but we'll get to that in a minute. Rosalina's storybook is the best place to analyze the story, and not only does it explain the story, but it also adds to Rosalina's character development. The story begins with a young Rosalina finding a Luma in a rusted ship. This Luma is the same one that inhabits Mario's hat throughout the game. Luma says that he's waiting for his mama, and Rosalina decides to stay and wait for his mom. Eventually Rosalina says, "Why don't we go out there and find your mother ourselves?" So they fix up the spaceship, and a wholesome moment between Rosalina and Luma is shared when she forgets to bring food. Luma then offers her a starbit, and once this is established as a sustainable food source, they collect them throughout their journey, which ties back into the gimmick of collecting starbits. Anyway, the starbits are said to taste like honey, and this is actually based on a real Japanese candy called konpeito. Later in Chapter 3, they come across a comet, and Luma says to land on it to look for their mom, but there's no sign of her, and they decide to rest on it for a while. In Chapter 4, however, Rosalina has a dream that has some foreshadowing. When she wakes up from the dream, she's crying and says, "I'm never going to see my mother again."
Oh, now this is where it gets good.
As the story goes on, the two of them start to build on the comet, and you can see an illustration of the kitchen dome at the beginning of Chapter 5. And through this detail, it's revealed that the comet depicted in the story becomes the Comet Observatory in the game. Then in Chapter 6, a bunch of Lumas appear and start to call Rosalina their mom, which explains why she's referred to as their mom throughout the game. Another cool Easter egg in the storybook is at the beginning of Chapter 7, when Rosalina spots their 100th comet, which is a reference to the comet that is mentioned in the beginning of the game that is celebrated by the Star Festival. And then the story takes a dark turn. When looking through her dad's telescope, she bursts into tears. It's then revealed that her mom is sleeping under the tree on the hill that she reminisces about while looking through the telescope. And then, hoping to cheer up Rosalina, Luma transforms into a comet, and thus the Comet Observatory is born. And then, in a wholesome moment, all of the Lumas comfort Rosalina. The story reads, "And from that day on, starbits no longer fell from the girl's eyes." The comet sets sail for Rosalina's home planet, which is the planet that you start the game on. And the tutorial galaxy Gateway is just what it sounds like, a gate that Rosalina can watch her planet from every 100 years. I just realized that the Star Festival celebrates Rosalina returning to the gate. How have I just realized this now? And of course this ties into MatPat's theory about how Peach is Rosalina's mom, but we don't need to talk about that. And yeah, that's Rosalina's storybook in a nutshell. So not only is the storybook a nice little extra in the game, but it provides a lot of background knowledge, and almost everything in the game can be explained by, or at least be tied back to the storybook. It's honestly really cool how the author and director of the game, Yoshiaki Koizumi, was able to add in what seemingly a cool Easter egg, but simultaneously base the whole game around it almost. And it just goes to show how much work was put into the game, and how much the developers cared about making it a memorable Mario experience for everyone. But like I said, the storybook and ending to the game leads into Galaxy 2. At the end of the game, when you defeat Bowser, his galaxy reactor collapses and forms a black hole. And in one of the saddest video game endings ever, the Lumas sacrifice themselves and literally reset the universe. After this, Rosalina explains that the universe goes through cycles, and that one never repeats itself in quite the same way. And when Mario wakes up just before the credits roll, everyone is back on the same planet that you started the game on. And it kind of sets up the sequel. Because in Galaxy 2, the same enemies are present, and even some of the levels are similar, like Honey Hop and Honey Hive. It's almost like the developers already had extra content planned, because there's almost no way that a sequel can fit that well with a game that wasn't intended to have a sequel, at least when it comes to Mario. And speaking of the final Bowser battle, the boss fights are pretty cool too. There's a couple lame bosses, and even some that could count as mini-bosses, but a lot of those are present in the stars that aren't as memorable, so they kind of go well together.
And that was my retrospective of Super Mario Galaxy. If you enjoyed and you want to see more, then make sure to like and subscribe. It's free and it takes like 2 seconds. When are you going to do a video on Mario Sunshine?
Never!
Fine then.